Some bitter Van Halen fans used to accuse Wolfgang Van Halen of being a nepo baby, until he earned a Grammy nomination with a song from his first solo album. Given that his father was one of rock's all-time greatest guitar heroes, it shouldn't come as a surprise that Wolfgang Van Halen began demonstrating musical aptitude at a young age. It may be a surprise, though, that his first love was the drums. He posted a photo on Instagram of himself as a toddler sitting at his uncle Alex Van Halen's drum kit, writing, "Sneaking in a quick jam sesh on Uncle Al's kit with my drumming Uggs and drumsticks that are almost the same size as me." Wolfgang told the Washington Post that when he was just 8 or so, his dad placed a stack of magazines on a table and instructed him to bang on them, as if they were a snare drum, saying, "If you can do this in time, this is what playing drums is." Soon, Wolfgang grew serious and graduated from stacked periodicals to a legit drum set. He said, "I started playing drums when I was 9-ish. It was the only thing my dad actually sat down to teach me. So once he saw that I could do it, he was like, yes." It's a testament to the parenting of Eddie Van Halen and Valerie Bertinelli that Wolfgang Van Halen grew up unaware of their respective fame. He told People magazine, "My mom did a really good job at grounding me in my childhood. It felt completely normal. It wasn't lavish or insane." Wolfgang told Guitar World that the first time he could recall noticing that people acted differently around his parents was when the family flew back from a trip and were besieged by photographers at the airport. "I just remember a bunch of flashing lights because paparazzi were following us. That's the only memory I have that was unusual." Wolfgang told Ultimate Classic Rock that he learned the truth at age 6 or 7 when Eddie Van Halen was remastering his band's early albums. He said, "I found a box of all of them, and I saw my name on it and a picture of my dad. I said, 'Dad, what's this?' And he said, 'Oh yeah, this is what I do.' And he kind of introduced me to everything." As he got older, Wolfgang began developing an interest in guitar. Surprisingly, though, his father didn't really teach him how to play. Wolfgang told Louder Sound, "My dad wasn't the best teacher. I would ask him to play something, but he would just proceed to be Eddie Van Halen. He would look at me and say, 'Do that,' to which I would laugh and reply sarcastically, 'Sure thing, no problem.'"
He's like, "Well, do this." And it's like, you. I can't do that.
As a result, Wolfgang mostly taught himself how to play, declaring that because his father was self-taught, he wanted to develop his own guitar technique in a similar fashion. He told Spin, "It was important that I develop my own skills and my own sound. That's helped me, or else you'd be listening to some Van Halen cover band." By 2006, Wolfgang Van Halen's skills had progressed to the point that his father brought him into Van Halen as the band's new bass player, replacing longtime bassist Michael Anthony. While naming his son as a full-fledged member of Van Halen at age 15 may have seemed like an act of nepotism, Eddie Van Halen insisted that it was on merit. When his dad ultimately asked him to join, Wolfgang accepted, but only under the condition that he didn't have to do any bass solos. While the decision initially generated skepticism, Wolfgang proved the doubters wrong during the band's 07-08 reunion tour with original Van Halen frontman David Lee Roth. However, some old-school Van Halen fans felt he was a nepo baby interloper. Wolfgang told Louder Sound, "It was tough. It was something I didn't know how to handle. That did a lot of damage to me." By 2013, Wolfgang had become a Van Halen veteran, having performed numerous shows with the band. That year, he announced that he was joining another band as well, hard rockers Tremonti. Speaking with Billboard, Van Halen insisted that he was taking his role with Tremonti as seriously as he was his other gig. He said, "Van Halen is definitely the priority, but whenever Van Halen isn't doing anything, I treat this as another band I'm legitimately in." Wolfgang told Rock Street Journal that his involvement with Tremonti came about organically, as he'd been a friend of Creed guitarist Mark Tremonti for several years. As he recalled, he happened to be in New Jersey, where Tremonti was based. At the same time, they were in dire need of a bass player for a tour. He said, "So I went over one night at midnight and learned the entire set, and the next day, we were on tour." In 2001, Eddie Van Halen confirmed that he was undergoing treatment for cancer on his tongue. He subsequently revealed that he'd beaten the disease and had been declared cancer-free in 2002. Sadly, his cancer returned, and in 2020, he succumbed to the disease. He was just 65. Wolfgang had been close to his father, and the elder Van Halen's death hit him particularly hard. He told Carson Daly, "It's really tough. Some days are better than others. It doesn't seem like the pain is ever really going to go away. You just kind of figure out how to carry it a bit better.
How are you doing, man?
I'm terrible. I'm trying to stay positive, but man.
While the world lost a rock icon, Wolfgang Van Halen lost so much more. He said, "He was still my dad, and he was incredibly loving, and he was my best friend in many ways." Wolfgang told people that his father continued to inspire him from beyond the grave, compelling him to push past his grief and fully engage in living. "What really helps me keep going is my dad, because if I just gave up and stopped and crawled in a hole, which I feel like doing every day, I know he'd be really pissed off at me. He's the only thing that keeps me going." When he wasn't on the road with Van Halen or Tremonti, Wolfgang was spending time in the recording studio, working on the tracks that would come together for his 2021 debut album, Mammoth WVH. The album represented years of work, with Wolfgang playing every instrument and painstakingly recording his parts. He told NPR, "It's 100% all me playing everything, writing everything, so it's a lot more pressure, but it's also much more creatively freeing." When he first began to work on the album, Wolfgang had no vision of what it would become. Modeling his efforts on the first Foo Fighters album, in which frontman Dave Grohl similarly played all the instruments, he was far from confident that he'd be able to pull it off. A year after the album's release, Wolfgang took to social media to reveal how monumental that album had been for him, writing, "It was a culmination of years of work, trial and error, loss, self-doubt, and anxiety. It began a new chapter in my life that I'm not sure I was even ready for, but I jumped in anyway." With the release of his first album, the next step was to go on the road and play his music to live audiences. So Wolfgang formed his band, Mammoth WVH. The name Mammoth was taken from the moniker of a three-piece group that his dad led prior to forming Van Halen. Wolfgang told NPR, "I always loved that name whenever he would tell me that story. So I always told myself that when I grew up, I'd name my own album and my own band." Being the lead singer of his own rock band was uncharted territory for Wolfgang, though. During an appearance on the Walking the Floor with Chris Shiflett podcast, he said that he wasn't trying to imitate David Lee Roth or any of the other musicians he had worked with, and explained, "I'm very much myself, to a certain degree. I don't know, maybe it's boring, but I'm just being unabashedly myself, and I think being honest is a nice thing to be doing." Wolfgang Van Halen's debut album garnered him his first ever Grammy nomination, earning a nod in the Best Rock Song category for the single Distance. Wolfgang commemorated the moment on Instagram, sharing a photo of himself with his mother, Valerie Bertinelli, and then girlfriend, Andrea Alsop. He wrote, "We came, we saw, but we did not conquer, and that's okay. Such an honor to be nominated for the first song I ever released on my own, in a category with artists I've looked up to my entire life. I don't know if that'll ever fully set in." He also pointed out that his dad, Eddie Van Halen, didn't win the Grammy the first time he was nominated, so he was just following in his old man's footsteps. And his mom was thrilled.
Could I be more proud of my boy?
Wolfgang opened up about his feelings even more in an interview with Noise11.com, saying, "I just think, taking away from that, to be treated as an equal in a category about songwriting, I think that was enough of a win for me. To take that home and to be Grammy nominated alongside people I've looked up to my whole life, from Weezer to Foo Fighters to the Beatles." Wolfgang and Alsop, a photographer, met online and went on their first date on October 15, 2015. 8 years later to the day, the couple tied the knot in a ceremony held at their Los Angeles home. According to People magazine, they were joined by about 90 guests. Alsop said, "Our goal was just to bring all of our closest family and friends together. We wanted to create this wedding as a celebration, not only just for us to get married, but a celebration for the people we love." Wolfgang honored his late father by having 316, an instrumental Van Halen number that the guitarist wrote for his son, playing while they walked down the aisle. Bertinelli was simply thrilled that her son had found the one with which he could share his life. She told People, "They really get one another. Their humor is very similar. They like similar things, they know how to give each other space, and they're just so comfortable together." With his own album, a successful concert tour, and a Grammy nomination under his belt, Wolfgang Van Halen's profile was on the rise when he was tapped to play on the soundtrack of 2023's biggest movie, Barbie. In fact, he contributed guitar to Ryan Gosling's signature musical number in the film, I'm Just Ken, performing alongside Guns N' Roses' Axeman Slash.
When Ryan Gosling whips out his abs, there's a guitar tapping solo that happens, and that's me.
Wolfgang and Slash reunited to back up Gosling when he performed the song at the 2024 Oscars for a worldwide television audience. He told the Morning Call, "It was very crazy, but an exciting thing to be a part of. That is not my normal place to hang around in or operate from, so I felt a little like a fish out of water." Looking back on the experience, he had a sense that Barbie was going to resonate with audiences, but had no idea just how big it would be. He said, "To have a small part in something like that was a really cool thing. I loved playing on it and being a part of the movie." Shortly after the release of Barbie in August 2023, Wolfgang Van Halen released his second album, Mammoth 2. Like his debut, he was a one-man band on the project, playing all the instruments on each song. While comparisons to Eddie Van Halen are inevitable, Wolfgang has been heartened to see their lessening, as appreciation for his abilities as an artist in his own right grows. He told Guitar.com, "Luckily and thankfully, it's starting to happen. I see people being a fan of the music first, and then, only then realizing, oh, I had no idea you were Eddie Van Halen's son. It's really flattering to see people view me as my own person."
He was super proud, and I just wish I could show him this album. I know he'd be going nuts.